License to Live 2023 was another great success. We had so many speakers that came to the stage just delivering such inspirational messages, informative talks, and simply getting you ready to take on that next phase of your career. So I am happy that in this episode, we will give some outtakes from a couple of the interviews that we held live on stage with the speakers as they were exiting. So I can't wait to share all of these interviews with you.
Welcome to the Licensed to Live show, where professionals, doctors, champions, VIPs, attorneys, and those in public office discover strategies that help you restart and gain what is lost when you find yourself accused. If another has doubted your integrity, questioned your credentials, or caused your actions to come under scrutiny, you are in the right place. On the other hand, if you have never felt the knot in the pit of your stomach when legal papers are served, the heartbreak of disappointing your family when the lock clicks shut on handcuffs, or had to appear before a board of review, then be aware, the longer you serve, the more likely you are to find yourself under the microscope of those who judge. Prepare yourself for this uncomfortable possibility. Now, here's your host, Dr. Jarrett Patton.
Welcome to episode 167 of License to Live. My name is Dr. Jarrett Patton, and I'm your host for our journey together today and every day you choose to listen to this show. If you or anyone you know has been dissed in their career, please invite them to join us along this journey. Just go to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, anywhere you get your podcasts, and subscribe to License to Live. And while you're there, give us rating, give us feedbacks, let us know what you want to hear so we can keep you with the most up-to-date information about career challenges and life changes. And boy, I am so excited to get today started because I am giving you a little taste of what went on with the energy that was on the License to Live stage 2023. And we have a couple of great speakers who will have come up. We're so lucky to have Dr. Marion Mass on the License to Live stage. She is the Duke and Northwestern trained pediatrician who practices in suburban Philly for over 20 years. She is the co-founder of Practicing Physicians of America and the Free to Care Coalition. In fact, she organized 2 bipartisan symposiums at the Library of Congress regarding lowering healthcare costs and improving access, and advises multiple lawmakers on how to do the same. And in fact, during her presentation, she talked about each one of those symposiums that she had in the Library of Congress. Amazing, amazing story. But we will have Dr. Marion Mass here right now because really she's going to tell us about the sad state of affairs for our future doctors. And listen to what she had to say here. Doctors are often targeted for what, they say, oh, well, doctors make so much money and they're driving the cost and health system. Can you repeat that statistic? You said it was 7 cents on the healthcare dollar.
7.3 cents on the healthcare dollar is what goes into a physician's pocket. Some people will say, no, it's more than that. But like if you have to take out our overhead and all the stuff that we're doing and the bloat that we're paying. And like nurses, there's more nurses than us. I think they're 8.4 cents. I don't mean that they're profiteers and there's more than us, but there's like more than twice the number of nurses as there are physicians. And look, we can see the problems. In 2021, 117,000 physicians left the practice of medicine. There's less than 1 million of us in the country. It's like we lost like 10% of our population right there. And I mean, sadly, 400 physicians a year kill themselves. How horrible is that? I mean, I think for so many years, people thought, oh, medicine, what a great place to be. And they revered their doctors, but we're leaving the profession. We're doing things like I am, where we're only working part-time. I've been part-time my entire adult life because I took one look and I thought, I'll burn out here if I work full-time. I look at my husband who's like burning the candle at all ends. And I think, I don't know how much longer he can do. I mean, we're 55. We're the poster children of a good path through medicine. We started medical school when the cost of the tuition was $14,000 a year at Duke in 1990. You know what it is now for undergrads? It's like 67,000. I mean, like, so these poor young physicians, who's going to choose this? So we're losing physicians to early retirement, half-time work. We're losing them to industry. They're deciding to go off in other directions. We're losing them to suicide, which is the most insidious, horrific way of all. And I don't know that we're gaining them. I mean, it's, I mentioned, I believe I mentioned Senator Marshall was the person who helped me get the second Library of Congress meeting room. He told me he's, believe it or not, like even in Congress, these people talk across the aisle. He's working with Elizabeth Warren closely on some stuff. He's meeting with Bernie this coming week. He told me about a month ago, he had a conversation with Bernie and he said, Bernie, I have 4 children. My wife's a nurse. Not a single one of my children is going into healthcare. We have 3, none are becoming doctors. We're 2 physicians, and so like, do we have a pipeline of people that still want to do this? I don't know. But that, who that should scare most? Not us physicians. I mean, I'm going to have my friends like you, like Marlene that I mentioned, like Duna, like all kinds of friends that I've made around the country. If something happens to my health, I can text and find something out in a couple minutes. It's the people that don't have that I worry for the future. So sad state of affairs.
It is a sad state of affairs. And as a result, it takes these are some of the pressures that people don't realize as you're working the front lines, you're taking care of people. And of course, you are focused on the patients. You're focused on taking care of families. You're focused on the things that you went into healthcare in the first place. But all of these other forces are weighing down, causing people to even, be not only dissatisfied or just say, hey, this job sucks. But as you mentioned, hundreds of physicians, are killing themselves. And it is a super sad state of affairs. Tell us a little bit about what got you interested in saying, okay, I'm going to spread my message to newspapers.
I had already started blogging a little bit about the gardening and the cooking and that sort of thing. So I felt comfortable writing and putting my words down. Our first child, the one that wrote that piece, when he was in elementary school, he had such a hard time getting his thoughts in his head. And we would tell him, just go have a conversation. When all of our kids would get ready to write their college essays, we said, like, all right, let's sit down over dinner and let's talk about what you're going to, because if you talk about it first, like you're honing your ideas, I think. So what I do, and so now some of my friends know the secret, though they probably see my words after we've already had the conversation, but I'll call someone and say, hey, what do you think about this issue? I want to talk about it. And I'll talk it out first. I'll talk it out with my husband, other physicians. I'll talk it out with patients. I'll talk it out with nurses that I work with, fellow reformers. When I first started, I will not forget this. My first article, the big one that hit, was in the Philadelphia Inquirer, who stands for patients in the healthcare debate. And there's a physician, Dick Armstrong, he's a Michigan surgeon, who's kind of my very early mentor in all of this, kind of pointed out a lot of things to me. And I said, I was getting ready to write something. And I sent him what I was thinking of sending for an op-ed piece. And he was a harsh critic, but I appreciated that. He told me, no, this is not at all fit to be an op-ed piece. This is what you need for an op-ed piece. It needs to be this many words, and you need to put in hyperlinks, and you need to make it like very clear. And, so I did it all myself. In the meantime, I have run into people that help me edit. It's kind of a great story, but when I wrote that op-ed piece and 2 others in the Philadelphia Inquirer, I had a local person who had been trained as a journalist who got in touch with me, and he said, I would help you do some of your things. And he's an older retired guy, and he offered to meet up. And I thought, this is really sweet, but he doesn't want to do that. And so then he kept in touch by email. And then after a while, I'd finally written a piece, and he said, Dr. Mass, that last piece right here, this one right here, this is what I would have done to edit your piece. And then it was still the same piece, but it was like he polished it, so I think like me knowing how to take criticism has helped. I mean, because I didn't mind. He was right. He could take my thoughts and help me edit them. So this person, I pay him in bone broth and tomatoes and potatoes and homemade pickles. And he loves the arrangement. And I don't have him edit everything, but he edits a good bit of my stuff. And those 2 free to care papers, he is responsible for not just the editing, but, like there's people like me that don't have the time to get the formatting down and make it look pretty and the headers and the subheaders. And, but wow, what a find that was. And like, so there again, it's another connection I didn't make in the 45 minutes. Thank you for asking, because the whole garden has led to my pieces being better pieces. So all those years when I was feeling the imposter and thinking, what am I doing? Changing diapers, taking care of kids, growing tomatoes. What am I supposed to be doing? I think I'm supposed to be doing something. What is it? I felt like I was searching, and I don't know, trust the path. And I did have those moments of enjoying the path, because it's been a beautiful, colorful, wonderful, rich life. And I don't mean rich in money, like that picture of the fat cat bursting at the seams with his boxer showing and stuffing himself full of bread. I mean rich, making pickles and growing tomatoes and being able to pay people in those tomatoes. That's a rich life.
That is a rich life. And that's what we're talking about, because, hey, you're kicking off this conference because you're already licensed to live. You are doing this every day, and you're hitting all of these different things. So certainly I'm going to start adding pansies to my salads, because I did not know that. I'm going to be looking forward and really want to hear from you with this cookbook, because that obviously is the next, that's one of the next things as you transition into or out of something. I know that cookbook is coming, and I'll be happy to look at those recipes.
Super.
Please tell people where to find you again.
Oh, you can find me on LinkedIn under my name, Marion Mass, Marion, and then Mass, just like Catholic Church. You can find me at Twitter at Mass_Marion, Marion. You can look up Practicing Physicians of America. You can look up Free to Care for some links on healthcare reform. If you find me on Facebook, I tend to friend people I know, but you can see the garden pictures, and I do put them on Twitter sometimes too. Kind of gotta. Because deep down, I feel like, well, maybe this won't succeed. Maybe we won't fix healthcare. So my message to people is, you better stay healthy.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Marion. Great to see you. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time. Dr. Marion Mass really set off the day for us on day 1 of the conference. She just lit it up. And just like any good doctor, then she was off to her practice to work and see kids for the rest of the day. So, I mean, that is one busy woman. And she literally took us from her garden to Washington, D.C. and back in that presentation. Wonderful presentation. And we will have our next speaker, Dr. Nii Darko, coming up right after we finish thanking our sponsors. Hey, this is Dr. Jarrett Patton. Do you need more positivity in your life? No matter what part of your life you want to transform, positive affirmations can help you achieve your goals. But sometimes making permanent changes can be difficult. Designed with you in mind, Licensed to Live, daily affirmations to rebuild your life will inspire and equip you to become the best version of yourself. Licensed to Live, daily affirmations to rebuild your life will set you on the path to changing your mindset, beliefs, speech, and ultimately your actions. You can change your life now by getting your copy at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, your finer book retails, or licensedtolive.com. That's licensedtolive.com.
Something smells good. EH3 coffee. EH3 coffee. Premium organic. Nothing better than waking up. EH3 in your cup. Premium organic. EH3 coffee. Nothing better than in the middle of your day. EH3 coffee. Premium organic. EH3 coffee.
Hey guys, this is Janae Noonan, and I'm here with Dr. Jarrett on License to Live. Hit the subscribe, follow the journey. Let's go.
The time is now to refresh your career. We help doctors, lawyers, executives, and VIPs refresh and restart. Dr. Jarrett's coaching helps you build confidence, gain more credibility, develop more leadership skills, and gain clarity in your career path. Want to climb the executive ladder or branch out on your own? We'll put your career in overdrive. Visit drjarrett.com and sign up for your free strategy session.
Dr. Nii Darko is a board-certified trauma surgeon who does what he wants and encourages others to live outside the box. In fact, he is the initial host of Docs Outside the Box, where he talks about pop culture topics, medicine topics, and things going on in his own family, since his co-host is the lovely Dr. Renee. But Dr. Darko took the License to Live stage by storm, coming up telling his story about how he came into medicine and practices as a locums doc, but took it a step further and introduced podcasting into his career, which has revolutionized it. Listen to what Dr. Nii has to say. It's always just exciting to hear you speak. And I love you taking us through your journey, because your journey goes back, farther than we've known each other, since maybe 2016 or so. And I've always found podcasting interesting. And then watching your development as it's gone on. And so a couple of points I want to just point out to everybody. One of the best things that comes out of a podcast, especially one like Dr. Nii's and Docs Outside the Box, is that he owns that. He has trademarked that. It is his. It's not like a social media company that'll be here today and say, oh, yeah, you can have a blue check, and then change the rules and kick you off the platform the next day. This is something that you own and you have grown. I mean, it's been awesome that you've been able to do that. And I love that's really what you've done with your show. You talked about your first episode, the one that you didn't like very much. And you're like, you listen and you cringe. And it goes in that category of, you got to start somewhere. Now, people listening to that first episode, they're gonna be like, oh, okay, yeah, this is something, and it's changed. But like you said, it's about that growth and following along this journey, because your show has been hitting so many sweet spots. And I remember, you would interview lots of people, but then you said, you started changing things a little bit, which is okay. So let's talk about that change, and specifically when you decided to bring Dr. Renee on, because that, I agree with you, man. That's when I've noticed everything started blowing up with you. You brought her in as a special guest, and then she became co-host, and you guys are still going today, because, well, you're talking about things that will inform people. You definitely have things that are going to entertain people, and you have things that are going to change their life. So tell us a little bit about how that worked out for you when you decided to make that change.
Yeah, that was a big deal for me, because Docs Outside the Box was my baby, right? It was something that I wanted to do. She was supportive, very supportive of it. But, she was just like, yeah, like, I'll support you. But, this is your journey. And, I was very, I was dying with the ship, and I was going to go down with the ship, and it was just going to be me as the captain. And that's how I looked at it over the first several years. And then after a while, when I started bringing her on the show, I'm like, the download numbers are going through the roof. And then people would be like, yo, Nii, like, no, they don't take this the wrong way, but like, yo, we listening for Dr. Renee. And I'm like, oh, word, okay. And then, after a while, like, I could be very hard-headed about it, or I could just say, listen, we can make this work. And I had to ask her, Dr. Renee, you want to come on the show a little bit more consistently? Because it looks like a lot of people really enjoy when you come on. They like your energy, and they like the way in which you kind of bring questions back to me. And they like the perspectives that you bring. And you just are able to do things that I can't do. Would you like to come on? And she was like, yeah. And, after a while, I had to realize that ultimately the show really isn't about me. The show really is about, the experiences that I think we all collectively have in career, in our careers and in medicine and maybe not even in medicine. And once I was able to separate that, then I was like, okay, let's put our content together that, can help people. And, we've done episodes on marriage. We've done episodes on our dating experiences, which if anybody listened to that episode knows there's a lot of ups and peaks and valleys. We've put stuff on prenups about how I said we should get a prenup and how she laughed in my face. Like we do a lot of different things that, I think most people try not to talk about in the open. They try to hide. And I think people appreciate that. And she just brings a perspective that I think a lot of people really enjoy. So for me, it's just been kind of getting out of my way and letting the data run the show. And the data says like, hey, you need to have more of Dr. Renee in there, so that's kind of where we're at.
I love that because this shows that, hey, you start off with plans and you think they may be perfect. You may think that they're going to be exactly as you had it planned out, but then something changes and you have to be receptive and open to change. And that's what you've done, which is why your show is super duper successful right now.
Yeah. That's the key. And we're even looking for more, right? We're looking to be a little bit more, like there's even more vulnerability that we can do. Like we are always sitting at the table wondering like, okay, like did I describe in this episode, did I really go and open up as much as I wanted to, right? So for example, like real quick, like we were talking about affirmative action, right? And there's a part in the show where we were talking about, as much as you want to run away or certain people want to run away from affirmative action and that being connected to why certain people are in certain schools, like people already have their preconceived notions, right? That's one concept, right? But that can go over someone's head, right? But if I tell the story of, I remember one of my classmates, he was white and I was walking out of the cafeteria and it was at the end of the year. And he asked me what I was doing for the summer. And I was like, yeah, I'm in the MBA program. I'm going to be doing my MBA program and all these different things. And I was like, what are you doing? And he kind of was beating around the bush, but he had to repeat. He had to do some repeating. He failed some courses. And he's like, you're not going to be in there with me? And I was like, no. And he's like, well, I just kind of always thought of you as someone who would have a hard time in your courses. And I was like, no, I'm good. And I just walked away. Right. And I was talking to Renee and she's like, you didn't say anything back? I was like, no, I just walked away. She's like, he clearly was just saying that you strike him as a dumbass, right? Like maybe because you're Black, he didn't expect you to do very well. And I was like, oh yeah, I didn't even think about it, But it's like, those are the type of stories that, you got to share on a podcast that people want to resonate with, right? Whatever the reason may be, whatever the true reason may be, it's about the stories. And I think that's the one key that I think people should gain from this show gain from this presentation is we all have a story. People really like stories. And, sometimes some people want to do a podcast where it's like, I'll take my live streams and make it into a podcast. And I'll say, no, don't do that. You have to look at your podcast really as an extension of yourself. Like it has to be an organic thing where you have to be thinking about, on this podcast, I'm going to be releasing A, B, C, and D. And I think those shows that are able to do that, where they're really able to be vulnerable and tell people, hey, like this is what it felt like to literally almost be profiled. And for someone to, for me, literally to be minding my own business, doing well in school and someone to be like, no, you look like someone who should be in, remedial class with me. Come here. Right. Like, what does that feel like? And those are the things that I think resonate with people.
Absolutely, because the stories keep people engaged, and oftentimes the stories will strike that note that says, I felt like this too. I thought I was the only one. And you're being vulnerable, sharing these stories in your life and Dr. Renee's life. And that's what draws people in. And as somebody said in the chat, it's really the chemistry of you two bringing on the show that makes it that way.
Yes.
And then we have one last question. Dr. Yvette McQueen asks, how do I get to be on your show?
Yeah, easy. Just so I know Dr. Yvette. Actually, I helped her start her podcast several years ago. But yeah, if she, I don't know how to type it in, but if you hit us up at team, TEAM at drneedarko.com and just write in and say, hey, I want to be on the show. We can take you through that process.
All right, I'll put that in the answer. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that so much. It's always great to hear from you, Dr. Nii. Continue to do great things. Continue to remain licensed to live. Give a shout out to Dr. Renee from us. And I appreciate you coming on. And we will see you guys the next time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, man. Congratulations to what you're putting together, Dr. Jared, also. This is a big deal.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Nii. I told you there were some great things that came out of License to Live 2023. Don't worry if you completely missed it. You can go to licensetolive.com and check out the replay because each person who came on the stage had incredible learning points, incredible inspirational points, and things that will help you help straighten out your life and your career. So make sure you go to licensetolive.com. And remember, fire starters, if you or anyone you know has been disengaged, dissatisfied, disgruntled, disenfranchised with their career, please invite them to join us along this journey. Simply go to your favorite podcast player and hit subscribe. And while you're there, let me know what you're thinking about, what you want to hear about, and how we can make this show better. And a special shout out to those in the EU. We got Germany kicking it, Italy kicking it, Spain. You guys that are listening right now, tell a friend about the show. All you're going to do is make me come out there and visit you too. But in the meantime, hook up with me on LinkedIn. That's where you'll find me in between episodes. And I can't wait to see you next time.
No matter how disheartening the moment of accusation sounds, how deep the pain of immobilization stabs, or how bleak your future looks, no one can take away your license to live. Keep Dr. Jared's expertise handy and unlock your future. Go to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or another podcast player and subscribe right now to Licensed to Live. See you next time.